The world watches anxiously as Ethiopia teeters on the edge, its fate uncertain and its people caught in the crossfire of history. Once an African economic powerhouse, Ethiopia now faces multiple crises: insurgency in Oromia, uprising in Amhara, and renewed clashes in Tigray. The bustling streets of Addis Ababa, once filled with optimism and growth, are now marked by uncertainty and fear. Shops remain shuttered, businesses struggle to survive, and the sense of security that once defined the capital has all but vanished. Across the nation, protests and unrest have become a daily reality, as communities demand justice, representation, and a voice in their own future. The government's reliance on military force has only deepened divisions, fueling a cycle of violence and retribution. Soldiers patrol city streets and rural villages alike, their presence a constant reminder of the fragile peace. For many Ethiopians, daily life is overshadowed by fear. Fear of violence, fear of arrest, and fear that the conflict will only escalate further. The trust between citizens and the state has eroded, replaced by suspicion and resentment. Over 4 million people are displaced, inflation is soaring, and unemployment is rampant. Families are forced to leave their homes, seeking safety in overcrowded camps or on the roads, carrying only what they can. The cost of basic goods has skyrocketed, making daily survival a struggle for millions. Markets that once bustled with activity now echo with frustration and despair, as people protest the rising prices and lack of opportunity. International investors are fleeing, and the government's militaristic approach is widely criticized as counterproductive. Once a magnet for foreign investment and development, Ethiopia now sees its economic prospects evaporate. Construction projects have ground to a halt, and the international community voices growing concern over the government's handling of the crisis, urging a shift toward dialogue and reform. Instead of addressing ethnic grievances and economic disparities, the state's confrontational tactics have pushed peace further out of reach. Negotiations stall as mistrust deepens and ethnic communities feel increasingly marginalized. The hope for reconciliation fades with each passing day, replaced by a sense of frustration and alienation among Ethiopia's diverse peoples. The dream of a united, prosperous Ethiopia is slipping away. As the sun sets over Addis Ababa, the nation stands at a precipice, its future uncertain, its people yearning for peace, and its legacy hanging in the balance. The choices made in the coming days will shape not only Ethiopia's destiny, but the fate of an entire region. In the heart of Ethiopia, the region of Oromia is gripped by a brutal and protracted conflict. Here, the government and the Oromo Liberation Army, or OLA, are locked in a relentless struggle for control and recognition. The violence has become a daily reality for millions, shaping the lives of entire communities and leaving deep scars that may take generations to heal. Yet, despite the scale of the suffering, this war remains largely unnoticed by the world. International media coverage is scarce, and global leaders rarely mention Oromia's plight. The silence is deafening, allowing the conflict to fester in the shadows, far from the headlines and the attention it desperately needs. The OLA now controls vast swathes of rural Oromia, establishing checkpoints and asserting their presence in remote villages and rugged landscapes. Their influence stretches across forests and mountains, making it nearly impossible for government forces to regain full control. Meanwhile, the government's refusal to engage in meaningful negotiations has locked the region in a deadly stalemate. Attempts at dialogue have repeatedly broken down, fueling mistrust and hardening positions on both sides. Caught in the crossfire, civilians are trapped between warring sides. They face arbitrary arrests, extrajudicial killings, and widespread abuses. Families are forced to flee their homes, seeking safety wherever they can, often with nothing but the clothes on their backs. The international community's silence has allowed these atrocities to continue unchecked. Humanitarian organizations struggle to access affected areas, and diplomatic efforts remain minimal, leaving the people of Oromia feeling abandoned and voiceless. Attempts at peace, such as the 2024 deal with an OLA faction, have failed to address the root causes of the conflict. Core grievances, demands for autonomy, an end to marginalization, and fair control over resources remain unresolved, fueling ongoing resistance and unrest. The war has devastated entire communities. Livelihoods have been destroyed. Farmland lies in ruins, and basic services like education and healthcare have collapsed. Women and children bear the brunt, struggling to survive amid the wreckage of their former lives. Oromia's crisis is not isolated. It is a microcosm of Ethiopia's broader national turmoil. Ethnic tensions, political instability, and unresolved grievances threaten the fabric of the entire country, making peace in Oromia crucial for Ethiopia's future. Without genuine political dialogue and a commitment to justice, lasting peace will remain out of reach. The people of Oromia continue to wait, hoping for a future where their voices are heard and their suffering finally ends. Since mid-2023, Amhara has erupted in insurgency, with the Fano militia battling federal forces after a controversial move to dismantle regional special forces. The government's harsh response, airstrikes, blackouts, and mass arrests has only fueled local support for Fano. Major cities have become war zones, trade is paralyzed, and essential services have collapsed. The uprising exposes deep mistrust between ethnic groups and the central government. By sidelining political solutions, the government has alienated former allies and ignited another front it cannot control. Without addressing Fano's demands and providing security guarantees, the conflict will continue to drain Ethiopia's future. The Pretoria Peace Agreement, once a beacon of hope for Tigray, is now in ruins. Renewed fighting, political chaos, and the return of militias have shattered the fragile ceasefire. Over 1.6 million remain displaced, famine looms, and wartime atrocities go unpunished. The federal government's exclusion of the TPLF from politics and failure to withdraw occupying forces have deepened the crisis. Humanitarian aid is insufficient, and the sense of betrayal runs deep. Without urgent action to revive the peace deal, Tigray risks plunging back into devastating war. The stakes for Ethiopia and the region could not be higher. Ethiopia's divisions now run deeper than ever, with trust in government and institutions at rock bottom. The economy, once booming, is crippled by war, inflation, and mass unemployment. Foreign investment has dried up, and military spending is draining public resources. The government's focus on security over dialogue has only worsened instability. Daily life is marked by exhaustion, fear, and a sense of impending collapse. Many fear a Yugoslav-style breakup, as ethnic conflicts threaten to spiral out of control. The optimism of recent years has vanished, replaced by anxiety and despair. Rebuilding trust and national cohesion is now Ethiopia's most urgent challenge. Amid internal chaos, Ethiopia's government has launched a risky quest for Red Sea access, escalating tensions with Eritrea and Somalia. This bold move is seen as an attempt to secure a strategic foothold in the region, but it comes with significant risks and potential fallout. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed's vow to reclaim the port of Assab has brought Ethiopia and Eritrea to the brink of war, with both sides massing troops at the border. The historical animosities between these nations are being reignited, and the specter of a full-scale conflict looms large. Eritrea, once an ally, now supports anti-government factions in Tigray, exploiting Ethiopia's instability. This shift in alliances has further complicated the already volatile situation, making it harder for Ethiopia to stabilize its internal affairs. Ethiopia's deal with Somaliland for sea access infuriated Somalia and nearly sparked a regional war. The agreement, while potentially beneficial for Ethiopia, has strained relations with its neighbors and added another layer of complexity to the regional dynamics. These moves have isolated Ethiopia diplomatically and created new enemies. The country's aggressive foreign policy has alienated potential allies and left it more vulnerable on the international stage.